Hello everyone. So welcome to session 23 of IS Baba's rapid revision series of 500 high probable topics for prelims 2020. I'm Pritham Reddy and I'll be dealing with 20 important topics in this session which is very crucial for prelims examination this year. So our first important topic is Mission Shakti. So you might have read in news that in 2019 India conducted Mission Shakti. So it is an anti-satellite missile test. You have to remember it's an anti-satellite missile test. And this test was conducted from Dr. APJ Abdul Kalam Island Launch Complex. And this was a technological mission which was carried out by the DRDO. So this ASAT, that is anti-satellite system, had successfully destroyed a live satellite in the low Earth orbit. So you have to remember the satellite was in the low Earth orbit. So the main significance of this test is that India has now tested and successfully demonstrated its capability to indirect and intercept a satellite in outer space, so based on complete indigenous technology. So this Mission Shakti, it is based on indigenous technology, and with this test India joins an exclusive group of spacefaring nations consisting of USA, Russia and China. So now India became fourth country. So in this Mission Shakti, DRDO's ballistic missile defense interceptor was used, which is part of the ongoing ballistic missile defense program. So there are other ways to demonstrate this ASAT capabilities such as flyby test and jamming. However, India used the particular technology of kinetic kill. And there are 5 known Indian satellites in the low Earth orbit, that is India PSAT, ResourceSat 2 and radar imaging satellites 1 and 2 and SRM Sat. So because of this Mission Shakti, the debris of India increased from 80 to 343. So next important topic, we'll be seeing some international treaties relating to outer space and its relationship with India. So India is a party to all the major international treaties relating to outer space, you have to remember. And the principal international treaty on space is the 1967 Outer Space Treaty. And India is a signatory to this treaty and it ratified it in 1982. So one important thing what you have to remember with this Outer Space Treaty is it prohibits only weapons of mass destruction. So it prohibits only weapons of mass destruction and not ordinary weapons. Okay. And next, India already implements a number of transparency and confidence building measures, including registering space objects with the UN register, pre-launch notifications, taking measures in harmony with the UN space mitigation guidelines. India is also participating in interagency space debris coordination activities with regard to space debris management. India is also undertaking SOPA and COLA, that is Space Object Approximation Awareness and Collision Avoidance Analysis and other numerous international cooperation activities. India is also hosting UN affiliated Center for Space and Science Technology Education in Asia and Pacific. And India has been participating in all the sessions of the UN Committee on the Peaceful Uses of Outer Space. And India supported UNGA Resolution 69/32, that is no first placement of weapons on outer space. So India also supports the substantive consideration of the issue of prevention of an arms race in outer space, that is PAROS. So India during the conference on disarmament, it had supported the substantive consideration on the issue of this PAROS, that is prevention of an arms race in outer space. So India expects to play a role in the future in the drafting of international law on prevention of an arms race in outer space. And due to this Mission Shakti, India is not in violation of any international law or treaty to which it is a party or any national obligation. So do remember it. So next important topic is UN Office for Outer Space Affairs. So this particular office, it is tasked with the promoting peaceful use and exploration of space through international cooperation. So this United Nations Office for Outer Space Affairs is part of United Nations Secretariat and it works to establish or strengthen the legal and regulatory framework for space activities. This UN office also assist developing countries in using space science and technology for sustainable socio-economic development. So this United Nations Office for Outer Space Affairs, it was created in 1958, and it assists and advises the ad hoc committee on the peaceful uses of outer space, which was established by the United Nations General Assembly to discuss the scientific and legal aspects of the exploring and using outer space to the benefit of humankind. So this United Nations Office for Outer Space Affairs is also responsible for implementing the Secretary General's responsibilities under international space law, and also maintaining the United Nations Register of Objects launched into outer space. So headquarters of this UN office is in Vienna, Austria. So next we will see what is Unispace Plus 50. So this Unispace Plus 50, it is the first United Nations General Space Summit of the 21st century. So in 2018, the international community, they gathered in Vienna in order to celebrate the 50th anniversary of the first United Nations Conference on the exploration and peaceful uses of outer space. So this dedicated event is called Unispace Plus 50. So this Unispace Plus 50, it provided a great opportunity for international community to convene and consider the future course of the global space cooperation and for the benefit of the humankind. And next we have to remember the main shared goal for this Unispace Plus 50. So the major goal is to build together with all stakeholders a comprehensive 2030 agenda for the contribution of space activities to the achievement of sustainable development goals. Also, the major goal should be to address overarching long-term development concerns, and which is based on the peaceful exploration and also peaceful uses of the outer space. So since 1968, United Nations has held 3 conferences on the exploration and peaceful uses of outer space, and all the conferences was held in Vienna. So next important topic is UN Spider. So UN Spider, that is United Nations Platform for Space-Based Information for Disaster Management and Emergency Response. So you have to remember UN Spider deals with disaster management and emergency response related to space. So this UN Spider, it was established in 2006 and it is under the UN Office for Outer Space Affairs. So we already dealt with UN Office for Outer Space Affairs, and this UN Spider is under this UN Office for Outer Space Affairs. So this UN Spider, it develops solution to address the limited access the developing countries have to specialized technologies, so that can be essential in the management of disasters. So this UN Spider's mandate is to enable developing countries to use all types of space-based information in all phases of disaster management cycle so that they can avoid or mitigate disaster. So this UN Spider, it has created a global network in order to foster and strengthen strategic alliances and partnership on both global and regional scale. That's why it has 2 global networks, one on regional scale and one on national focal points. So next important topic is space missions in news. So you would have read in 2020 that NASA's Perseverance, China's Tianwen-1 and Hope Mars mission, so they were sent to Mars. So first we'll see NASA's Perseverance. So NASA's Perseverance is dealing with Mars. So this Mars rover Perseverance, it was launched from Atlas V rocket and it lifted off from Kennedy Space Center. And the major aim of this particular Perseverance is to look for signs of ancient life. So this Perseverance, it will aim for some unexplored territory, for example Jezero crater. So this Jezero crater, it is believed that it has boulders, cliff and rocks which are bearing signs of microbes. And it is also believed that this particular crater was once a lake more than 3 billion years ago. So NASA's Perseverance will also release a mini helicopter that will attempt the first powered flight on another planet. And also it will go to test out other technology to prepare the way for future astronauts. And few facts you have to remember that US is the only country to safely put a spacecraft on Mars. And it is seeking its 9th successful landing on the planet. And you guys have to remember 2 other NASA's landers, that is 2018's InSight and 2012's Curiosity rover, they are already operating on the Mars. And 6 other spacecraft are exploring the planet from the orbit. So 3 from the US, 2 from the Europe, and 1 from the India. So next is China's first Mars probe, that is Tianwen-1, which means questions to heaven. So this particular spacecraft, it consists of an orbiter, a lander and a rover, and the mission aims to study the thickness and sublayer of the Martian soil. So the scientific goals of the mission, they include studying Martian topography and geology and to determine the composition of the surface material, climate and environment. So what is the difference between NASA's Perseverance and China's Tianwen? So Tianwen-1, it majorly aims to study the Martian topography and geology, whereas Perseverance, it wants to explore unexplored territory and also look out for signs of ancient life. Okay. So this particular Tianwen, it was launched on a Long March 5 rocket. And you have to know, this isn't China's first attempt at Mars. So China, in partnership with Russia, it had attempted a mission to Mars in 2011 too, but the launch failed. Only the US has successfully landed a spacecraft on Martian soil and doing it 8 times since 1976. So next important mission is Hope Mars mission of UAE. So the probe is also known as Al-Amal. So it was launched on a Japanese rocket, and this Emirates Mars mission is a UAE space agency uncrewed space exploration mission to Mars. And this Emirati project is one of the 3 racing to the Mars, including Tianwen-1 from China and NASA's Perseverance. You have to remember one more important fact, that the opportunity to fly between Earth and Mars comes around only once every 26 months when the planets are on the same side of the sun and about as close as they can get. And the next important fact is, unlike the 2 other Mars ventures, this Hope Mars mission will not land on the planet, but instead it will orbit it for a whole Martian year of 687 days. And you have to remember, only the United States, India, former Soviet Union and European Space Agency have successfully sent missions to orbit Mars, while China launched its first Mars rover recently. So next important topic is Solar Orbiter mission and Sunrise mission. So you have to know the difference between them. Why Solar Orbiter mission is important? Because recently this Solar Orbiter mission, it has sent down the first images of the sun, and which is from a distance of about half the Earth-Sun distance. So this is the closest observation of the sun so far, and it shows campfire-like structures that could be miniature solar flares. So the major important points what you have to remember for prelims is Solar Orbiter mission, it's a sun observing mission, and it is jointly organized by the NASA and European Space Agency. And next you have to remember, it is the first mission that will provide images of the sun's north and south poles. So having a visual understanding of the sun's pole is important because it can provide more insight about the sun's powerful magnetic field and how it can affect Earth. And next you should know, Solar Orbiter mission is equipped with 10 instruments that can capture observation of the sun's corona, the poles and the solar disk. So it can also use its variety of instruments to measure the sun's magnetic field and also solar wind and other energized stream of particles which is emitted by the sun that reach across our solar system. So understanding the sun's magnetic field and solar wind are key because they contribute to space weather and also they impact Earth by interfering with network system like GPS communication and even astronauts on the International Space Station. So next important topic is Sunrise. So NASA has selected a new mission to study giant solar particle storms. So the difference between Solar Orbiter mission and Sunrise is, here Sunrise is solely by NASA and it is to study giant solar particle storms. And this Sunrise full form is Sun Radio Interferometer Space Experiment. So this Sunrise will look into how sun generates and releases the giant weather storms known as the solar particle storms into the space. So the mission will help in greater understanding of the solar system. So the findings would safeguard astronauts from solar storms while they are traveling to Mars or the Moon. So the Sunrise contains 6 CubeSats which will work together as a large radio telescope. So together these will observe radio images of low frequency emission from solar activity, and they create 3D maps to locate the origin place of a solar particle storm on the sun. So NASA chose the sunrise in August 2017 as one of the two NASA's mission of opportunity. So one more mission which is the part of this mission of opportunity is Mars exploration. So try to know about what is this NASA's mission of opportunity. So next important topic is Lunar Polar Exploration Mission. So Japan and India will be launching a joint lunar mission called Lunar Polar Exploration. So the major key takeaways are the mission aims to put a lander and rover on the moon surface. And Japanese Space Agency, that is JAXA, would be building the overall landing module and the rover, while ISRO would develop the lander system. So the mission will be launched after 2023 and it will be launched from Japan. And the designated launch vehicle is the H3 rocket. So the mission intends to obtain data on the quantity and forms of water resources present in order to determine the feasibility of utilizing such resources for sustainable space exploration activities in the future. So next important topic is Sisir Kumar Mishra. So Chandrayaan-2 took pictures of various craters on the moon while it was flying over its north pole. So remember Chandrayaan-2 and North Pole. So one of the craters it scanned over was a lunar impact crater named Sisir Kumar Mitra, who is a noted Indian physicist. So the Working Group for Planetary System Nomenclature, an arm of International Astronomical Union, had named the crater after Mitra in 1970. So you have to remember that Sisir Kumar Mitra was the first to introduce radio communication in India. So you have to remember radio communication. And he was a pioneer in the field of ionospheric sciences and radio technology. So ionospheric sciences and radio technology. So you have to remember Sisir Kumar Mitra was a noted Indian physicist and he is known for his radio communication, ionospheric sciences and radio technology. So you might be knowing the ionosphere is a region of the upper atmosphere which usually extends from 60 km to several thousand kilometers above the earth. And you might be also knowing that ionosphere reflects short radio waves and its presence is vital for long distance radio communication. So one more important point what you have to remember is the other Indian scientists who have their names etched on the moon is Dr. Vikram Sarabhai. And ISRO, it paid tribute to the Dr. Vikram Sarabhai by announcing that Chandrayaan-2 orbiter had captured the moon images of the Sarabhai crater. So next important topic is Indian Ocean Naval Symposium. So Indian Ocean Naval Symposium is a series of biennial meetings among the littoral states of the Indian Ocean region. So you have to remember littoral states of the Indian Ocean region. So this Indian Ocean Naval Symposium, that is IONS, is a regional forum of Indian Ocean littoral states which are represented by their naval chiefs, and it was initiated and launched by India in February 2008. The major objective of this IONS or Indian Ocean Naval Symposium is to increase maritime security cooperation and to provide a forum for discussion of regional maritime issues and also to promote friendly relationship among the member nations. So this Indian Ocean Naval Symposium is a security construct for the Indian Ocean region which is similar to the Western Pacific Naval Symposium. And this IONS is a voluntary initiative among the navies and maritime security agencies of the member nations. So right now there are 36 littoral in the Indian Ocean, out of which 24 are member nations and the remaining are the observers. Okay, and this 36 littoral in the Indian Ocean, they are geographically grouped into 4 regions, that is South Asia, West Asia, East African and Southeast Asian and Australian. And in addition to the symposiums, numerous other activities like workshops, essay competitions and lectures are also held under the umbrella of this organization. Okay, so do remember, because it might be confusing with the Indian Ocean Rim Association. So there are two different things, that is Indian Ocean Naval Symposium and Indian Ocean Rim Association. So recently 19th Indian Ocean Rim Association Council of Ministers meeting was held in Abu Dhabi, and the theme was promoting a shared destiny and path to prosperity in the Indian Ocean. So let's see about Indian Ocean Rim Association. So it was known as Indian Ocean Rim Initiative and Indian Ocean Rim Association for Regional Cooperation. So this is an international organization, and right now it is consisting of 22 coastal states which are bordering the Indian Ocean. So you have to remember that Indian Ocean Rim Association is a regional forum. So it brings together representatives of government, business and academia for promoting cooperation and closer interaction among them. So it is based on the principle of open regionalism for strengthening economic cooperation. Okay, so it is based on the principle of open regionalism for strengthening economic cooperation, particularly on trade facilitation and investment promotion as well as social development of the region. And next you have to remember the secretariat of this Indian Ocean Rim Association is in Mauritius. And right now the member states, that is 22 coastal countries which are bordering the Indian Ocean, are given below, so you can go through it. And try to know when was the organization first established, and also try to know when was this IOR ARC was formally launched. So next important topic is Southeast Asia Regional Health Emergency Fund. So this was in news because India had decided to contribute around $2 lakh towards implementation of this particular Southeast Asia Regional Health Emergency Fund. So this fund is a mechanism that allows for a more rapid response to disasters from both natural and human generated hazards. So the fund has been established by WHO Southeast Asia Regional Office and its 11 member states, that is Bangladesh, Bhutan, Korea, India, Indonesia, Maldives, Myanmar, Nepal, Sri Lanka, Thailand and Timor-Leste. Okay, so the fund has been established by the WHO Southeast Asia Regional Office, and through the WHO office the countries can obtain financial support from the fund within 24 hours of the emergency. So the fund will be used for emergencies whether natural or man-made, and especially when some state declares a state of emergency or official request for external assistance by the national government or appointment of a humanitarian coordinator by the UN Secretary General for that particular emergency. So next important topic is BOBBLE. So BOBBLE, that is Bay of Bengal Boundary Layer Experiment. So a team from Indian Institute of Science, that is in Bengaluru, and UK based university have created a blueprint for accurate prediction of monsoon, tropical cyclones and other weather related forecasts. So if there is a question on BOBBLE, you have to know it is for prediction of monsoon and cyclones and other weather related forecasts. Okay, so this BOBBLE, the major aim is to determine, quantify and model ocean atmospheric interaction that drive variability in the South Asian monsoon. So under this project, an observational campaign will be undertaken in the Bay of Bengal region. They try to understand the role of thermodynamic surface and mixed layer processes in the monsoon, as well as the role of large scale ocean structure, ocean dynamics and ocean biogeochemistry in the monsoon. So finally, you people have to remember that BOBBLE is a joint initiative between India and UK, and it is a project funded by Union Ministry of Earth Sciences and the Natural Environment Research Council of UK. And Bay of Bengal, it plays a fundamental role in controlling the weather systems that make up the South Asian summer monsoon system. Okay, so next topic is Comprehensive Nuclear Test Ban Treaty and its CTBTO Preparatory Commission. CTBT is important because United States, it has raised concerns that China might be conducting nuclear tests with low yields at its Lop Nur test site. So remember, Lop Nur test site is in China. So USA has raised concerns that China is conducting nuclear tests and also it is violating the CTBT, that is Comprehensive Nuclear Test Ban Treaty undertakings. Okay, so let's see what is this CTBT. So CTBT is a multilateral treaty that bans all nuclear explosions. So it bans both civilian and military purposes. So it bans all nuclear explosions in all environments. So it was adopted by the United Nations General Assembly during 1996, but it has not entered into force. So you have to remember that CTBT has not yet entered into force, as 8 specific nations have not ratified the treaty. So the Comprehensive Nuclear Test Ban Treaty bans all nuclear explosions, either military or civilian, in any types of situation. And out of 44 listed countries, to date only 36 have ratified the treaty. And China, Egypt, Iran, Israel and US have signed, but they have not ratified. And in addition, North Korea, India and Pakistan are the three who have not yet signed. Okay, so CTBT has therefore not entered into force and it lacks legal authority. And this CTBT is also called as Zero Yield Treaty. Why zero yield? Because zero yield refers to a nuclear test where there is no explosive chain reaction of the sort which was caused by an atomic bomb nuclear warhead. Okay, so next we'll see what is CTBTO Preparatory Commission and what are its function. So this Preparatory Commission for the Comprehensive Nuclear Test Ban Treaty Organization, it is an international organization and it is based in Vienna, Austria. And this is tasked with building up the verification regime of the CTBTO. So the organization was established by the states signatories to the CTBT in 1996. The main purpose of this CTBTO Preparatory Commission is twofold. One is to promote the entry into force of the CTBT. And the second is to establish a global verification regime in preparation for the treaty's entry into the force. And as the CTBTO Preparatory Commission is an interim organization, it will be dissolved once the CTBT enters into force and it will be replaced by the CTBTO with all its assets being transferred to the CTBTO. So do remember it. Next important topic is New START Treaty and Intermediate Range Nuclear Forces Treaty. See, both this New START and INF Treaty, they are associated with US and Russia. So let's see what is this New START and INF. Already a question has been asked by UPSC with respect to New START. Okay, so New START, that is Strategic Arms Reduction Treaty, is a nuclear arms reduction treaty between USA and Russian Federation. So it was signed in 2010 and it is set to expire in 2021. So the treaty caps the nuclear warheads of the US and Russia, that is the two Cold War era superpowers. So you guys have to remember, under this treaty, United States and Russia must meet the treaty's central limits on strategic arms. And the treaty has no constraints on missile defense and conventional strike. Okay. So next important topic is Intermediate Range Nuclear Forces Treaty. So recently it was in news because US said it will withdraw from the treaty due to Russia's alleged development and deployment of Novator missile. So this Intermediate Range Nuclear Forces Treaty or INF Treaty, it is also a treaty between United States and Russia. The treaty was ratified by US during 1988 and it came into force in 1988. So it is a crucial Cold War era treaty banning the development, testing and possession of short medium range ground launch nuclear missiles with a range of 500 to 5000 kilometers. So you have to remember these 2 points. That is, it is the treaty between US and Russia, and here it is more about nuclear warheads, and the treaty has no constraints on missile defense and conventional strike. Here again it is more on short and medium range ground launched nuclear missiles. So this is important. So next important topic is Nuclear Suppliers Group. So this group is important for India, and for prelims you just need to know that NSG is a group of nuclear supplier countries who seek to contribute the non-proliferation of nuclear weapons. So this NSG guidelines, they contain non-proliferation principle which was adopted in 1994. So in simple, just know that whenever a supplier wants to authorize a transfer, he should be satisfied that the transfer would not contribute to the proliferation of nuclear weapons. And this NSG guidelines are consistent with and complement the various international legally binding instruments in the field of nuclear non-proliferation. China is opposing India's membership, citing Pakistan's non-admission in the exclusive group. Other countries who are opposing India's membership to the NSG are New Zealand, Ireland and Austria. So why NSG is important, you people have to know. So it is important for India because to be the part of rule making in the NSG rather than to be in the position of rule taking. And one more thing, membership of the NSG would enable India to have enhanced and uninterrupted access to nuclear technology, fuel and materials which are required for its expanding civil nuclear program. Also try to read and revise other export control regimes like Wassenaar Agreement, Australia Group and Missile Technology Control Regime. Okay. So next important topic is 4 foundational agreements between India and USA. So India has already signed the Logistic Exchange Memorandum of Agreement and Communication Compatibility and Security Agreement. However, it is yet to sign the third, that is Basic Exchange and Cooperation Agreement for Geospatial Cooperation. So you have to remember these 4 names because they might ask it is associated with which particular country. So why these foundational agreements are important? Because a country needs to sign these 3 pacts, especially Communication Compatibility and Security Agreement, Logistic Exchange Memorandum of Agreement and Basic Exchange and Cooperation Agreement for Geospatial Cooperation, especially these 3 pacts, to obtain cutting edge weapons and communication systems from the USA. So since India has already signed this COMCASA, so it provides a legal basis for the US to transfer secure communication equipment to India and to increase military equipment interoperability and real-time data sharing. And since India has already signed this LEMOVA, so it allows India and US defense forces to use each other's facility and to establish procedures of easier access to supplier and services. And signing this Basic Exchange and Cooperation Agreement for Geospatial Cooperation, it would allow India to use US expertise on geospatial intelligence and also to enhance military accuracy of automated hardware systems and weapons. And try to know about General Security of Military Information Agreement. So next important topic is AVAIR. See, during Budget 2020, Finance Minister quoted many important poets during the budget speech. So one among them was AVAIR. So AVAIR in Tamil it translates to respected woman, and the title was used by several women poets who contributed to the Tamil literature during different periods of the time. And in budget session, like Finance Minister said, our government shall encourage balanced use of all kinds of fertilizers, including the traditional organic and other innovative fertilizers. And during that time, Finance Minister quoted from AVAIR's Atichudi. So AVAIR's best known work is Atichudi, you have to remember. So Finance Minister quoted from Atichudi's verse telling that first tend to till one's own land and then eat. So one must eat only after work. So this is what the Finance Minister had quoted. So AVAIR, you have to remember, she was a Tamil saint poet and her famous work is Atichudi. And also do remember in 1991, a crater in Venus was named after this AVAIR. Also try to remember there are 3 more important Indian women on whose name craters are there on the Venus. That is Joshi crater, which is named after Anandi Gopal Joshi, Girard crater, which is named after Jerusha Girard, and Medhavi crater, which is named after Ramabai Medhavi. So next important personality or poet is Tiruvalluvar. So Tiruvalluvar is fondly referred to as Valluvar by the Tamilians, and his famous work is this Tirukural. So Tirukural is an essential part of every Tamil household, and it holds importance in the same way as the Bhagavad Gita and Ramayana for the traditional North Indian households. So the same way this Tirukural is important for the Tamil people. So Tiruvalluvar, he is an essential anchor for Tamils in tracing their cultural roots. So Tamilians are taught to learn his couplets word by word and to follow his teachings in their day-to-day living. So the Finance Minister cited Tiruvalluvar's Tirukural to explain the 5 jewels of a good country. That is, a country should have good health, wealth, good agriculture produce, happiness and national security. So Tiruvalluvar is Tamil Nadu's celebrated poet philosopher best known for authoring Tirukural, that is sacred couplets. So considering a masterpiece of Tamil literature. And little is known about his life except that he is believed to have lived in Mylapore. So next important poet and personality is Dinant Nadim. So Nadim is Kashmiri nationalist poet and he was at the center of Kashmiri's progressive movement, especially during 1930s, 40s and 50s. Nadim was born in 1916 and he expired in 1988, and Nadim wrote in Kashmiri, Hindi and Urdu, and he inspired a powerful tradition of Kashmiri poetry. And Nadim was inspired by Lal Deed or Lala and was at the center of Kashmiri's progress movement. And Nadim, he received the Sahitya Akademi Award in 1987 for his opera Suhul Kul, The Shady Tree. And there are some important works of Nadim, you can go through it. And finance minister, she actually quoted a poem, small poem from Myon that is my motherland, during the budget. So try to remember about these three famous personalities. Maybe we can expect a question in the prelims. So these are the 20 important topics in this session. Thank you.